So I just dropped my film Chlorine on YouTube and it got a bunch of views and Austin McConnell shouted us out. So I wanted to do a little bit of a meta video today where we pay it forward and help another filmmaker out and show off their film just like Austin did for us. So check out this interview that we did with Joel Haver. Having seen Joel Haver's Island, I really liked the film. It was a huge inspiration on Chlorine, and I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into some things that inspired me as a filmmaker. So this is one of those videos, and I would love for you guys to check out what we're gonna talk about in this short interview. Check it out.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Joel?
Hey, Dan, it's going good. How are you?
Weird to be talking to a different Joel.
Oh yeah, you got Joel Dick over there.
Yeah. I have with me Joel Haver, and I wanted to talk to him, so just introduce yourself and give us a little bit about what your film is about.
Okay, so I'm Joel Haver, and I created this movie, Island, that is a feature-length film I released on my YouTube that I made entirely alone, which is I am the actor, writer, director, cinematographer, editor. I am everything in the movie.
So can you give us like a little bit of like a, what is Island? Like give us like a sort of synopsis.
It came from it was a point in my life where I was kind of very lonely and I wanted to use my art to kind of explore that. And so I wound up building a paper mache kind of like cardboard island in my apartment and projected sunsets behind it and then just kind of made it up as I went. The whole thing was improvised, much like Chlorine. I didn't have, day to day, I didn't know what would happen next. I just kind of ran with it and just filmed whatever came to my mind. And like, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but like where the movie ends up, I did not have any idea it could get there from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, based on what I know and I don't want to say, the film really floors you because you start off thinking it's one thing and that one thing is very interesting, but you're kind of like, where's this gonna go? Like, you know, like I remember being like, there's this tension of where's this leading? And then once it happened, I remember thinking, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I just thought that the improv nature of the whole film really brings you in to this kind of crazy story. I love the fact that you're on this paper mache set, and one question I did want to ask is, how long was that set up in your apartment?
Well, I'd say from starting to build it to taking it down was probably 2.5 months. So it was set up for quite some time. My whole dining room situation was turned into a movie set for that amount of time, so I couldn't really use it. But
I was wondering, how difficult was it to kind of get into that idea of just doing improv?
Yeah, I'd say it's actually quite easy for me. I mean, this was my, Island is my fourth feature, and my first two were also improv. I made a third one that was scripted called Taking a Little Time to Feel Sorry for Myself. Yeah. And that one was scripted. And I don't know, I find it harder to make something that's scripted just because I'm so inclined to like spontaneity and the realness of the people involved and the realness of the situation that I find it so much easier and more exciting, and I have so much more passion for capturing that reality.
Was there any particular scene that was the hardest to capture on the film?
There's a lot of scenes with puppets, like little handmade puppets I had, and just like having to like set up the camera and puppeteer and sometimes actually act and with the puppet at the same time.
So in terms of more questions that I had, with Island, there was nothing, so you did improv. Was there anything kind of built ahead of time? Any sort of structure for the script, or was it just completely like...
No. So the whole film was actually shot chronologically. Everything you see happened happens in the order it happens. And that's because in a lot of ways the film was me. I sought to act emotionally rather than logically, which I think lends itself to an improv feature.
So when it came to the ending, did you just one day decide, this is it, this is the day, this is the last day?
Yeah, it was a very emotional moment because I had told myself I would not give up until I had a movie I was happy with. Until I'm like, this is a movie that I could be really proud of. And when I captured the ending, I actually I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I was crying. Yeah. All these days of is this gonna work? Is this gonna make sense? All kind of culminated in a sort of moment of it's gonna be good.
To speak to Joel's film, just to the quality of it, Island did make me cry at the end too. So it was a really, I think it's a film, especially if you're a filmmaker, I think you can relate to it on a deep level. I think any person can, but I think specifically there's a sort of a knowledge in the film that you're kind of filming yourself throughout the film. And I thought that was such a unique element that made it feel very intimate, because I didn't really know any of the Island stuff specifically, what was real, what was not real.
Yeah. There's definitely that pervasive throughout all my work. I'm very meta in that I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm making a movie, not letting the audience detach from the fact that a filmmaker is making this. Because I feel like filmmaking in a lot of ways has become a medium without an artist. It's because the general population goes to see a movie and they're like, Marvel made this, Warner Bros. Made this.
How do you plan on distributing your films, and how did you plan on distributing specifically Island? I know kind of what I know, but I want the audience to sort of know what you did and how you released the film.
So yeah, it was on my Vimeo initially, and then after Island, I started really focusing on my YouTube, making a lot of shorts.
I remember talking to you about YouTube specifically and saying you got to put your features on YouTube, and you seemed a little hesitant, and I was so happy to see one day when I was like, oh wait, his features are going up, I'm so excited. I was so happy that you were able to get them to, I think, a wider audience than just Vimeo, because I think Vimeo sometimes can have a limited audience.
What I love about YouTube is that it's always available, until Google goes under or something, or if they, ideally we wouldn't have our platform owned by a mega corporation like Google, but at the same time, that lends to a very stable platform, a platform with infinite uploading space, a platform. So there are these good qualities to that are hard to deny, but like I said, everything's always going to be available. All my films, there's not this expectation that on release they have to be the biggest thing ever. Because when you make a movie for a theater, the release is make it or break it. But on YouTube, anyone could always go back and watch what you did. So it's not it's not as high stakes for the weekend you release it or the week you release it to be the weekend it gets all the attention. It's so funny that we still have this kind of petty conversation of streaming services versus theaters, when I think for me it feels like all a distraction from the real conversation of YouTube versus everything else.
That was kind of one of the thoughts I had when I released Chlorine, was I could go the regular route, I could do all this, but there were so many things that were negative. It's okay, I use copyrighted songs in my film. What other platform can I do that on other than YouTube? If I submit that at the festival, they'll throw it in the trash in about 2 seconds flat. And how many people would even see it? Let's say I get into a mid-tier festival. Okay, maybe at max 500 to 1,000. To wait a year, I look at, if you look at the Chlorine views right now, I got more views than I probably would have entered if I entered in 15 festivals,
And just look at your video you did responding to the comments. There's an audience connectivity that's possible on YouTube that even in person at a festival wouldn't be possible, because you can't talk to every single person sitting in the audience.
So, a couple questions before we go. One of them is, if you had to talk to young filmmakers in a very short and concise way, what would you say to them directly if you could talk to that specific kid who's really interested in making a film but doesn't know what the hell to do?
Something I've come to terms with recently is no one gives a shit about your artistic and integrity but you. You know, no one cares if you make everything good or perfect except you, you know? So don't hold yourself to that standard, because you don't hold most films to that standard, you know? I think the more stuff you make, the more you grow to accept that you're not always gonna make a masterpiece. You're not always gonna make the best film. And it's more important that you just make something than it is that you make something good, you know?
Where are your socials? Where do you kind of reside on the internet?
So really my main place I exist is my YouTube channel. I release all my features there, and I do multiple short films every week. I do approximately 2 or 3 films every week. Sometimes I do even more. But so that's the main thing I'd shout out, my YouTube.
One thing I gotta say I love about your films and your attitude is the mysterious quality you have.
Yeah.
There is an element that I will say to my audience that Joel Haver is just as unique and interesting as I thought he would be. I think he's a really cool guy. I think you should check out Island. I just really want to say that it's been a real honor to talk to you, and I would love to talk in the future. But I really appreciate you taking your time out on this busy day, and hopefully, you have a good day, man.
Yeah, have a great day.
I really found it very inspiring to talk to Joel Haver today, and I wanted to make something that I thought would inspire you guys. So it was so much fun. You can check out his YouTube and Patreon, as well as our YouTube and Patreon, in the description and pinned to the comment at the top of the video. So please subscribe, please check out more of our content, and we'll be back very, very soon to make more. Well, that's good enough.